3 feet of snow is about to bury half of North America, and what I'm going to show you in the next 23 minutes could mean the difference between life and death. At the 3-minute mark, I'll reveal the exact moment this monster storm transforms from rain to catastrophic ice. By minute 7, you'll know which 3 regions are facing complete infrastructure collapse. And at minute 15, I'm going to show you something that 90% of people don't know about surviving ice storms that could save your family. This isn't just another winter weather update. This is an emergency briefing. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, a bomb cyclone is exploding across the Great Lakes with the fury of a Category 2 hurricane. 996 millibars dropping to 975 in just 24 hours. For those who don't speak meteorology, that's like watching a weather atomic bomb detonate in slow motion. The National Weather Service has never issued warnings this severe for this region at this time of year. We're talking about weather patterns that break 100-year records, and it's happening right now. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming that will shock you to your core. 3 feet of snow, not inches, feet, is going to fall across eastern Ontario and western Quebec in just 48 hours. That's enough snow to bury a first-floor window completely. Marquette, Michigan could see 2 feet of lake-effect snow on top of what's already coming. But here's what's really terrifying. It's not just the snow. 3/4 of an inch of ice is forecast across New England, and that number should terrify you. A 1/4 inch of ice shuts down entire cities. 1/2 inch brings down power grids and makes roads impassable for weeks. 3/4 of an inch is catastrophic infrastructure failure. We're talking about millions of people losing power in sub-zero temperatures with no way to heat their homes. Hospitals on backup power, water systems frozen solid, and emergency services unable to respond. This is the kind of storm that kills people, and it's targeting the most populated corridor in North America. Stay with me because what I'm about to reveal will change how you think about winter storm preparation forever. The storm system currently hammering the West Coast is just the opening act in a winter apocalypse. Sierra Nevada mountains are already buried under 6 feet of snow, with more coming. But that Pacific energy is about to collide with the most unstable Arctic air mass in decades. When these two forces meet over the Great Lakes, the physics becomes explosive. Monday morning, December 29th, that's tomorrow, this storm enters its rapid intensification phase. By Monday evening, it's going to be throwing everything it has at the Northeast. Tuesday becomes a nightmare scenario as the full force of this system unleashes across populated areas. And here's what makes this particularly dangerous: the timing. This isn't happening on a quiet Tuesday when everyone's safely at home. This is hitting during the peak post-holiday travel period. Millions of people will be on the roads trying to get home from family visits, driving straight into this death trap. Interstate 80, 90, and 95, the main arteries of Northeastern travel, will become parking lots of stranded vehicles. Let me ask you something that could save your life. Do you have an emergency kit in your vehicle right now? Not just a scraper and some jumper cables, a real survival kit. Because 73% of winter weather deaths happen in vehicles, and most could have been prevented with basic preparation. If you get stranded in this storm without supplies, hypothermia can set in within 2 hours. Your car's heater only works if the engine runs, and your engine won't run forever. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills more people in winter emergencies than freezing does. Now let me break down exactly what's going to happen hour by hour so you can prepare accordingly. Monday morning starts deceptively calm across most of the impact zone. Light snow begins falling across Wisconsin and Michigan around 9 a.m. local time. By noon, that snow intensifies dramatically as the storm circulation tightens. Monday afternoon becomes the critical transition period. This is when everything goes wrong at once. The warm air aloft creates a classic ice storm setup across the Northeast. Rain falls from warm clouds, hits a layer of sub-freezing air, and becomes supercooled. The moment those supercooled droplets touch any surface, they instantly freeze into pure ice. Monday evening, emergency services across New England will start receiving calls they can't answer. Ice-covered roads make it impossible for ambulances and fire trucks to respond. Power lines begin snapping under the weight of accumulating ice, starting with rural areas. Tuesday morning brings the full fury of this storm to populated areas. Boston, Hartford, Albany, Montreal. Millions of people wake up to a completely transformed world. Trees that have stood for decades will be split in half by ice weight. Power grids designed to handle normal winter loads will fail catastrophically under ice accumulation. Cell towers coated in ice will stop functioning, cutting off communication. And then the Arctic air arrives behind the storm, locking everything into a deep freeze. Temperatures will plummet into the single digits while millions remain without power. This is when a weather emergency becomes a humanitarian crisis. But it doesn't stop there. This storm is just the beginning of a pattern shift. The jet stream is buckling in a way that's going to lock North America into an Arctic siege. High-pressure blocking patterns are setting up across the Arctic that will persist for weeks. What we're seeing now is the atmosphere reorganizing itself into a configuration that favors repeated Arctic outbreaks. January 2026 could be one of the coldest months on record for much of the United States. Week 2 of January, temperatures across the upper Midwest could drop to levels not seen since the polar vortex of 2014. We're talking about wind chills approaching minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. At those temperatures, exposed skin freezes in under 5 minutes. Car engines won't start without block heaters, and heating systems will struggle to keep up. Week 3 brings the possibility of a second major storm system tracking from Texas toward the Great Lakes. This setup could produce another crippling ice and snow event for the Ohio Valley and Northeast. Week 4 of January, the coldest air of the season arrives with the potential for southern snow. Areas from Texas to the Carolinas that rarely see snow could experience significant accumulations. This type of pattern historically produces the storms that shut down entire regions for days. Now let me tell you something that 90% of people don't understand about ice storms. The greatest danger isn't the storm itself. It's the 48 hours immediately afterward. When the ice stops falling, that's when people start dying. Carbon monoxide poisoning from improper heating methods kills more people than the cold itself. Generator exhaust, charcoal grills, camp stoves. People get desperate and make fatal mistakes. Never ever use outdoor heating devices inside your home, garage, or any enclosed space. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and kills silently while you sleep. If you lose power and heat, layer clothing, close off unused rooms, and huddle together in one central area. Your body heat in a confined space can keep temperatures survivable for days. Have battery-powered or hand-crank radios to stay informed when cell towers fail. Keep a week's worth of water stored because frozen pipes mean no running water. 1 gallon per person per day minimum, and don't forget water for cooking and sanitation. Non-perishable food that doesn't require cooking. Peanut butter, crackers, canned goods with pull tops. Medications, flashlights, batteries, first aid supplies, and most importantly, extra blankets. For your vehicle, keep a survival kit that includes warm clothes, blankets, high-calorie snacks, water, and a shovel. Cat litter or sand for traction, jumper cables, emergency flares, and a fully charged portable battery pack. Most crucially, tell someone your travel plans and stick to major routes where help can reach you. If you get stranded, stay with your vehicle. It's more visible to rescuers than you are alone. Run the engine for heat only 10 minutes every hour to conserve fuel and prevent carbon monoxide buildup. Crack a window slightly for ventilation and clear snow from around the exhaust pipe regularly. Let me talk about the economic impact of what's coming, because this affects everyone. Ice storms cause more economic damage per square mile than any other weather event except major hurricanes. The 1998 ice storm in eastern Canada and New England caused over $3 billion in damage. This storm has the potential to exceed that, hitting more populated areas with even heavier ice accumulations. Power restoration after major ice storms takes weeks, not days. Utility crews can't work safely until ice melts from power lines, and that requires sustained warm weather. With Arctic air moving in behind this storm, that warm weather isn't coming anytime soon. Food shortages become critical when trucks can't travel and stores lose refrigeration. Supply chains that run just-in-time inventory collapse when transportation stops. Grocery stores in affected areas could be empty within 72 hours of the storm's arrival. Pharmacies lose refrigerated medications. Hospitals strain under emergency loads. Schools close for extended periods. Parents can't work. And the economic disruption cascades through everything. Insurance claims from ice storms typically involve total roof replacements and complete electrical system rebuilds. The weight of ice plus snow exceeds the design limits of most residential roofing systems. And here's something most people don't realize. Standard homeowners insurance has coverage limits for ice damage. If your roof collapses under ice weight, you might not be covered for the full replacement cost. Document everything with photos before the storm hits for insurance purposes. Now let me address something that mainstream media won't tell you about pattern persistence. When blocking patterns establish themselves in the jet stream, they become self-reinforcing. Cold air builds massive snow cover across Canada, which reflects sunlight and maintains the cold. This creates a feedback loop that can persist for months, not weeks. The last time we saw this configuration was during the brutal winter of 1977 to 78. That winter brought record-breaking cold that lasted from December through March. Natural gas shortages, massive heating bills, and infrastructure failures plague much of North America. We could be looking at a repeat of that scenario starting right now. Energy grids across North America are more fragile now than they were in 1978. Renewable energy sources become unreliable when solar panels are covered by snow, and wind turbines ice up. Natural gas demand spikes during extreme cold, creating pressure on pipeline systems. Rolling blackouts become necessary to prevent total grid collapse. Texas showed us in 2021 what happens when energy infrastructure meets extreme winter weather. The difference is, this pattern could affect the entire eastern half of the continent. Prepare for significantly higher heating bills throughout the winter. Budget for utility costs that could be double or triple normal levels. Consider alternative heating methods that don't rely on electricity or natural gas. Wood stoves, pellet stoves, propane heaters with proper ventilation. But remember, never use anything designed for outdoor use inside your home. Let me tell you about the international implications of this storm system. Canada's power grid is interconnected with the Northeastern United States. When Quebec loses generation capacity due to ice damage, it affects electricity supply across multiple states. Trade routes between the U.S. and Canada will be severely disrupted. The Ambassador Bridge, Peace Bridge, and Thousand Islands Bridge could all be closed to commercial traffic. Manufacturing facilities that depend on just-in-time parts delivery from across the border will face shutdowns. Automotive plants in Michigan and Ontario could stop production for weeks. Agricultural shipments of winter produce from southern regions will be stranded. Food prices across North America will spike due to transportation bottlenecks. Now let me show you something that will change how you think about winter survival forever. The human body can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water. But in freezing temperatures without adequate shelter and warmth, you have 3 hours. That's the brutal mathematics of winter survival. And it's why preparation matters so much. Core body temperature drops just 2 degrees and your fine motor skills disappear. You can't operate zippers, start vehicles, or dial emergency numbers. 4 degrees of core temperature loss and your decision-making becomes impaired. You'll make choices that seem logical but are actually life-threatening. 6 degrees of core temperature loss is unconsciousness and death. This progression can happen in under 3 hours in extreme conditions. Layer clothing in a system. Base layer that wicks moisture. Insulation layer that traps heat. Outer layer that blocks wind. Cotton kills in winter weather because it holds moisture against your skin. Wool and synthetic materials maintain insulation even when wet. Your extremities, fingers, toes, nose, ears, are the first to suffer frostbite. Quality gloves, insulated boots, and head covering aren't optional in these conditions. You lose 40% of your body heat through your head, so a hat is critical. Recognize the early signs of hypothermia in yourself and others. Shivering, confusion, slurred speech. If shivering stops suddenly, that's actually a bad sign. It means the body is shutting down. Frostbite causes permanent damage. Skin turns white or grayish, becomes hard and numb. Never rub frostbitten areas or expose them to direct heat. Gradual rewarming in warm, not hot, water is the only safe treatment. Let me address the psychological aspect of extended winter emergencies. Isolation, cold, darkness, and uncertainty create a perfect storm for mental health crises. Seasonal affective disorder becomes magnified during extreme weather events. Cabin fever isn't just an expression. It's a real psychological condition. Maintain routines as much as possible, even when circumstances are chaotic. Stay connected with family and friends through whatever communication means remain available. Keep children engaged with activities, games, and stories. Adult supervision becomes critical as familiar landscapes become unrecognizable and dangerous. Check on elderly neighbors who may not be able to care for themselves. Elderly people are at highest risk during winter emergencies due to reduced mobility and increased medical needs. Medications that require refrigeration become problems when power fails. Insulin, certain heart medications, and many antibiotics lose effectiveness without proper storage. Contact pharmacies now about emergency supplies and alternative storage methods. Now let me tell you about the 3 regions facing complete infrastructure collapse. Southern Ontario and Quebec, the industrial heartland of Canada. This region contains 75% of Canada's population and the majority of its electrical generation. Ice accumulations of 3/4 of an inch will snap transmission lines like twigs. The St. Lawrence Seaway could freeze solid, shutting down shipping routes that carry billions in trade. Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, millions of people could be without power for weeks. New England, from Vermont to Maine, faces similar catastrophic ice accumulations. This region's electrical infrastructure dates back decades and wasn't designed for these ice loads. Rural areas could remain isolated for weeks as tree-blocked roads prevent crews from reaching damaged lines. The third region is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and northern Wisconsin. 2 feet of snow on top of existing snow cover will create depths not seen since the 1970s. Roof collapses will become commonplace as snow loads exceed structural limits. Heating oil and propane deliveries will become impossible on snow-blocked roads. These 3 regions contain critical infrastructure that serves the entire continent. Hydro-Quebec supplies electricity to New York and New England during peak demand. When Quebec's grid fails, it cascades across the entire Northeastern power network. Military installations in these regions provide defense and emergency response capabilities. When they're cut off by weather, response times increase dramatically across a huge area. Let me give you the specific timeline for each region so you know exactly when to hunker down. Upper Michigan and Wisconsin, snow begins Monday morning and doesn't stop until Wednesday. Peak intensity Monday night through Tuesday morning with snowfall rates of 3 to 4 inches per hour. At those rates, roads become impassable within hours regardless of plowing efforts. Ontario and Quebec, freezing rain begins Monday afternoon and continues through Tuesday night. The most dangerous period is Tuesday evening when ice accumulation reaches critical thickness. Power lines will start failing around 6 p.m. Tuesday as the weight becomes unbearable. New England, minus ice storm onset Tuesday morning with peak intensity Tuesday afternoon. By Tuesday evening, most of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine will be in complete darkness. Emergency services will cease functioning as first responders become unable to travel. By Wednesday morning, vast areas will be completely cut off from the outside world. Now here's what happens when the Arctic air arrives behind the storm. Temperatures drop 40 to 50 degrees in just 12 hours as the cold front passes. Blizzard conditions develop as existing snow gets blown around by 50-plus miles per hour winds. Visibility drops to 0. Wind chills fall to life-threatening levels. This is when search and rescue operations become impossible. If you're not already where you need to be by Tuesday night, you're stuck there until the weather breaks. The ice that formed earlier creates a base layer that won't melt for weeks in these temperatures. Roads remain treacherous long after the snow stops falling. Salt becomes ineffective when temperatures drop below 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Even when roads are cleared, black ice creates deadly conditions for weeks. Let me talk about something critical: the cascade effect of infrastructure failure. When power grids fail, it's not just lights that go out. It's everything that depends on electricity. Water treatment plants lose pumping capacity, creating shortages and contamination risks. Sewer systems back up without electric pumps, creating health hazards. Gas stations can't pump fuel without electricity, stranding vehicles with empty tanks. ATMs stop working, credit card systems fail, and electronic payment becomes impossible. In extended outages, society reverts to cash-only transactions. Keep cash on hand because banks can't operate without power either. Medical devices that require electricity become useless. CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, insulin pumps. People die when these fail. Hospitals switch to backup generators, but those have limited fuel supplies. When fuel trucks can't deliver because of road conditions, hospitals face impossible choices. Cell phone towers have battery backups that last 8 to 24 hours maximum. When those batteries die, communication networks collapse across entire regions. Internet service fails when central offices lose power and backup systems exhaust fuel. Emergency services lose coordination capability when radio systems fail. This is why I keep emphasizing that you need to be self-sufficient for at least a week. Help isn't coming quickly when the helpers themselves are victims of the same disaster. Let me address something that could save your life: situational awareness. Most winter emergency deaths are completely preventable with proper awareness and decision-making. People die because they make predictable mistakes in predictable situations. Mistake number 1: attempting to travel during the storm itself. No trip is important enough to risk your life in blizzard or ice storm conditions. Mistake number 2: using improper heating devices that produce carbon monoxide. Generators, grills, and camping equipment belong outside, never indoors. Mistake number 3: inadequate clothing when forced to be outdoors. Dressing for the temperature you wish it was instead of the temperature it actually is. Mistake number 4: not recognizing the early signs of hypothermia in yourself or others. When your thinking becomes confused, you can no longer make good survival decisions. Mistake number 5: attempting to clear heavy snow from roofs without proper safety equipment. People fall from icy roofs and ladders every winter, often fatally. Mistake number 6: overexertion during snow removal activities. Heart attacks spike during major snow events as people shovel beyond their physical limits. Heavy wet snow puts enormous strain on the cardiovascular system. Take frequent breaks, stay hydrated, and know your limits. Now let me tell you about the long-term implications of this weather pattern. Insurance companies are going to raise premiums significantly after this winter. Some insurers may stop writing policies in high-risk areas altogether. Property values in frequently impacted areas will decline as buyers become risk-averse. Construction standards will need to be upgraded to handle increased ice and snow loads. Utility companies will be forced to invest billions in grid-hardening projects. Those costs will be passed to consumers through higher electricity and heating bills. Emergency management agencies will require larger budgets and more equipment. Tax increases become inevitable to fund improved winter weather response capabilities. Agricultural regions face crop losses and delayed planting schedules. Food prices rise as supply chains adapt to more frequent extreme weather disruptions. Transportation infrastructure requires massive upgrades to maintain winter operability. Bridges, airports, and rail systems need enhanced de-icing and snow removal capabilities. Energy independence becomes a national security issue as extreme weather tests grid stability. Renewable energy sources prove unreliable during severe winter weather events. This forces reconsideration of baseload power generation strategies. Climate change paradoxically produces both extreme heat and extreme cold events. Infrastructure designed for historical normal conditions fails under new extremes. As we approach the final minutes of this briefing, let me summarize the critical action items. Today, Sunday, December 28th, this is your last day to prepare before the storm arrives. Fill vehicles with gas, withdraw cash, charge all electronic devices and portable batteries. Stock up on non-perishable food, water, medications, and emergency supplies. Test backup heating sources and ensure proper ventilation for anything that burns fuel. Confirm emergency contact plans with family members and neighbors. Monday, December 29th. The storm begins its assault on the Great Lakes region. Stay indoors. Avoid all non-essential travel. Monitor weather reports constantly. Tuesday, December 30th. Peak intensity day for ice accumulation across the Northeast. Expect power outages to begin, cell service to become unreliable. Wednesday, December 31st. Arctic air arrives with dangerous wind chills and blizzard conditions. This is when the real test begins as temperatures plummet to life-threatening levels. New Year's Day and beyond, recovery operations begin, but full restoration takes weeks. Be prepared for extended periods without normal services and infrastructure. Throughout January 2026, continued cold pattern with additional storm threats. This winter is not a single event, but a sustained siege by Arctic weather. Adapt your expectations, increase your preparedness, and stay vigilant for additional threats. Before I close, let me leave you with this truth that could save your life. Weather is the most powerful force on Earth, and it shows no mercy to the unprepared. But preparation gives you power over circumstances that defeat others. Knowledge allows you to make decisions before panic clouds your judgment. Community support helps everyone survive what no one can face alone. This storm will test every system we depend on, but it will also reveal human resilience. People helping neighbors, sharing resources, checking on the vulnerable. These acts of kindness matter more than all the preparation supplies combined. When the power comes back on and the roads are clear, remember what you learned. Winter will return next year, and the climate continues to produce more extreme events. Make preparedness a way of life, not just a response to immediate threats. Stay informed, stay prepared, help your neighbors, and never underestimate the power of nature. 3 feet of snow and 3/4 of an inch of ice are coming. You now know exactly when, where, and how to protect yourself and your family. The question is, will you act on this information while you still can? Stay safe, stay warm, and I'll continue tracking this historic winter pattern as it develops. This is just the beginning of what could be the most challenging winter in decades. But with proper preparation and community support, we will get through this together. Until next time, watch the skies and trust your preparation.